Unbelievable. Unflipping believable, guys, man. Just as you think that at one point we're going to jump right back in and get that winner, no. It's typical Chelsea, isn't it? It's the history of the Chelsea, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Younes Talks Football. Welcome back to a brand new video. I know you're not doing all right. And I'm just frustrated tonight. Frustrated. You know, I'm not angry and rambling and going crazy and it's the end of the world and whatnot. Because it's not. But we've put ourselves in a situation as of tonight. On paper, it looks all right. Don't worry, it's a point away from home. It's fine. We're still in a decent position. Yeah, but we've got big opponents next. And these are the sort of games that you go and you pick up 3 points from, and we've not done that. And I think tonight was a big example of Chelsea just showing the history of the Chelsea. Which is when we go back to the same adage. When we have to go and show up against a team where you just have to go all guns blazing and everyone's on it. And then the moment we play against a lesser opposition, then it's like, okay, you know, we should have this. We just turn into 11 zombies and we just make stupid mistakes and we just fumble and just, I mean, especially at the back. I mean, the defending tonight was as good as I want to go to the good old adage of being as useful as a chocolate fire guard. I like that saying. It's true. It's not very useful. And you can't even eat it because it melts. You could, I mean, later on after it melts, if that's your game, then cool. But using it as a fire guard, forget it. And this defense, once again, and I want to pinpoint a little bit of this on Maresca. Because people can be very quick to just go straight to the players, and it's true because Tosin stunk up the gaff today, Hato stunk up the gaff today, and those are the two centre-backs we went with. But I don't feel like it was necessary for Maresca to do that. Now, I went with Hato in my lineup, but I had him at left-back. Funnily enough, we actually went with a semi-strong team tonight, with Cucurella starting and Reece James starting. And we shifted the centre-back pair in, and lo and behold, but those two centre-backs, both of them, stunk out the gaff tonight. Completely. Tosin's head was on Mars, as far as I'm concerned. Just really bad timing, bad focus, bad concentration, bad execution, bad everything. He looked like he was playing like a 16-year-old who's just made their debut for a team that's levels above where they've come from. And they don't know what to do when they're shook. That's what Tosin looked like today. And he's meant to be the unk. Today he did not play like an unk. He played like a baby. Simple as that. Baby. Like Roy Keane says. Baby. You know? Absolutely shocking. And Hato, just reckless. Reckless. As a central defender today, reckless. Now, it's funny because we went 1-0 up. You see, we don't normally do this. When we go 1-0 up, we tend to actually, you know, it tends to be a decent day at the office after that. We tend to coast. And after we went 1-0 up, it actually felt that way. Estevao with the goal. I mean, it's a ball in. And Estevao with the finish. Takes a touch, doesn't wait, doesn't hesitate, cuts in straight away. Instinct, shoot, bottom corner, thank you very much. And he slipped, but he still managed to put the ball in the net. Estevao today was the one bright spark out of this entire team that just, he's a baller, man. He is an absolute baller. And you know what? I'm going to take it one step further. I'm not just going to say he's a baller. He is a footballer. You know, like if I have to describe a footballer, what is a footballer? Estevao. That's a footballer, you know. A player that runs as a footballer should run. That operates as a footballer should operate. Not like how a robot should operate. And again, today we had players in this team that were moving like robots. They were moving like they're only coded one way. And if it doesn't work, then malfunction. They can't find or initiate any other solution. And it's annoying. It's just annoying. Estevao scores the goal. We go 1-0 up. Fantastic. And then it falls apart. It falls apart. Because defensively, we can't flipping save ourselves we can't cling on to dear life even if we tried. Right? That defending from both centre-backs, specifically Hato and then onto Tosin, was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. When Qarabag moved forward with the ball, Hato completely just losing full track of his opponent. Tosin, once the responsibility was shifted onto Tosin was in the complete wrong body position in the first place. You got a player coming at you across with the goal on your far shoulder and you're still remaining like this instead of like that? I mean, it doesn't take Einstein to work that one out. This is what I'm saying. He played like a baby. I don't understand. Like, have you played before, mate? Today, it seemed like he actually hadn't. Like I said, he actually looked like a 16-year-old making his debut who bottled it because he was nervous. That's what it looked like today. But Hato was retrospectively, before that, shambolic. And then comes off the rebound and they finish it and the defenders are nowhere to be seen. They're panicking and it's chaos. Where have we heard that before? Too many times. Whereas if I'm going to make an example, right, because I do believe that you need continuity. In the back line, you need defenders that are going to be constantly playing together, right? Constantly. And I felt like we had an opportunity to do something like that from the Tottenham game to today. Hato, Gusto as the fullbacks, and then you can go Josh, and it would have been Tosin. I went with Chalobah because, like I said in my preview, I don't feel safe with Tosin. But you can go Tosin and Josh. Hato left back and Gusto right back. You can change up the entire back line and still get continuity based on the opponent that you are playing. Arsenal have executed this to perfection. They've executed it to perfection. Their back line is so straightforward in both situations. Calafiori, Timber, Gabriel Saliba. Done. Champions League against Slavia Prague, cool. Take all four off. Turn 2. Lewis Skelly. Ben White. Mosquera, Hincapi. Done. Concede? No. But they've actually brought in some quality there just to end up becoming the B-string backup centre-back pairing. Mosquera, new player. Hincapi, new player. Pretty mental. So that is something that we have to pay attention to. The quality that we have in our back line is just not good enough in terms of depth. If everyone's fit and everyone's ready and we can play and we can stick with Fofana Colwell every single game, then of course that's a different situation. But the one thing stopping us from that is fitness. Pure fitness. We don't know. We don't know. And this is why, like, this whole rotation thing now I think is going to stop. Because our next game is Barcelona in the Champions League. We're not rotating for that game. You best believe we're not rotating for that game. We will go with what our best team is, irrespective of how many games they got to play. Now it starts to get difficult. Which is why today was important, because these are the games you pick 3 points up from. Which we didn't do. Now it's 1-1, and what happens? Hato again. What the hell is this? You know, you're turning. If you're turning, you don't need to have your arm out. You just don't. Not like that. There's no reason. If you're turning, you keep your arms tight. Yeah? Tight. And turn. There's no reason to put your hand out when you're turning your back towards the ball after a cross has been made and you want to block it. There is no reason. Brain dead. Hato, boom. Arm, handball, penalty, 2-1. Thank you very much. What a way to throw the game. Stupid mistakes again, stupidities. Now, prior to all this, Lavia had come off with an injury and he was clutching his thigh. Let's hope it's not serious, because if he's serious, then I personally am looking at Lavia and going, your body's just not going to be able to handle it. And I've said this prior to Reece James and all of this, but when you look at the injury history, he's actually worse than Reece James. he spends considerable amounts every season and has done for the last 3 seasons. This could end up being the 4th. That's just, and at 20, he's 20 or 21, you just can't. So I hope he's okay. Let's wait and see what happens. We had to bring Caicedo on, and some of the performances in that first half, specifically from Hato, Gittins was off, fully off. See, this is the inconsistency that we're talking about. Put in a clinic against Wolves, manages to get a decent game or decent turnout except for the shooting against Tottenham, comes up against Qarabag, just nowhere to be seen. Tyreek George was stuck up top and that was unnecessary. This is why I turned to Maresca. There were choices in this team that just did not need to be made today. If you wanted to start with a striker, start with Mark Yu, you know? I know Tyreek George has been scoring, but you could just see he was not present. He wasn't there. Other players were getting the ball. Tyreek George was not getting the ball. He was not there. He was not present whatsoever. Estevao was. Gittins was, just wasn't doing well. Tyreek George, nowhere. João Pedro didn't play well at all. But then again, when you have a João Pedro with a Tyreek George up front, I don't think you're going to get a combination. I think João Pedro still feels like he's got to carry the responsibility of that 9 and the 10. Doesn't help him. Liam Delap comes on later. Enzo comes on too, right? We change it up. And you could see that, yes, we look more substantial. Garnacho comes on for Gittins as well. Those are good proactive substitutions first thing into the second half. Cool. And we did look more threatening, right? Garnacho, in fact, gets the goal, which is fantastic. Beautiful goal, great finish, very good move. Liam Delap over to Garnacho, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, it was Liam Delap. Over to Garnacho. Garnacho gets himself into the position, manages to bounce off the defender. It feeds off into him. He hits it with his left foot, bottom corner, 2-2. But then from this point onwards, it was poor crossing, poor passing, too slow, waiting for the opposition to get back into position. We like to kill the actions for ourselves, and I don't understand why. I don't get it why. Liam Delap was actually making runs, certain runs in order to get himself around defenders, which he was doing, and we weren't picking them out. Enzo Fernandez specifically wasn't. I'm like, why? Estevao was the only one looking like he could actually cause some serious threat from somewhere on the pitch. Garnacho, for the time he was on the pitch, to be fair, did well, except for the one time he attempted the shot and it went out nearly for a throw. I mean, Sterling, you've got competition now in terms of the world's worst shot that we've seen at Chelsea Football Club, because Garnacho rivaled that tonight. But this is just the history of the Chelsea at this point, isn't it? We're just so hit and miss. Whenever we rotate and we bring in players, it still feels experimental. Even with our backups and with rotation, we don't have consistency. And this is where I turn to Maresca. I have to. Because it's just, I feel like we are too ultra tactically based off of what the opposition is going to do in order to dictate our decisions in terms of how we're going to play. Some days Reece James will be playing in midfield, then he's playing at right back, then he's not playing at all. Then we've got the centre backs and they're shifting every game. And then we've got, players coming back from injury and then we're trying to build that up. But then it's so inconsistent. We cannot build any run of form by doing this. We can't. Even if you're going to rotate, it has to be position for position, player for player, like for like, run with it and just let it go. And then you can adjust the movement of the players on the pitch, but don't take them out of their positions. I've got no problem with Hato being on the pitch, for example, but play him at left back, which is what we bought him for. When we've got Josh Achempong, who's been playing well, just sitting on the bench, why are you bringing Hato into centre-back? I don't understand. Fofana's going to be saved, I get that, because of his injuries, and he played well against Spurs. He's probably going to play against Wolves. Cool. Tyreek George stuck up front as an option when you've got Mark Yu and you've got Delap there. If you're going to start with a striker, then you don't want to play Tyreek, and you want to play Tyreek George, just start Liam Delap then. And then if you want to bring him off and play Mark Yu for an impact, do that. I've got no problem with that. But there's no reason to play Tyreek George up front. And don't get me wrong, again, I think we might have actually underestimated Qarabag here. Why? They're not the same Qarabag from before. You saw them today. Physically, they were tougher. In terms of pace, they were tougher. Their focus was there. They were getting stuck in. They were playing some good football. They brought on some subs that were making big differences, especially their number 11, Emmanuel Ade. Fantastic little baller, that. They were creating occasions for themselves. In fact, they could have won the game. Have we underestimated Qarabag? Have we actually fallen complacent? I feel like there's a amount of issues here. You know, whether we're complacent, with our heads not in the game, stupid mistakes, individual mistakes, and Maresca doing wild things again. When will it stop? Now we've got to play Barcelona. And you know what? We're going to show up for that game. I know we are. And we're not going to play a weaker team. We're going to play a strong team. And we might actually test them, and we might actually win that. But we'll look back at this sort of game as a game where we should just be picking up 3 points. And I don't say that arrogantly. I say that in terms of the level that we should be operating at against a team like Qarabag, respectfully. Even if it is at Qarabag, we should be winning. The same way Arsenal can go to Prague and get 3 points by winning 3-0, we should be able to go to Qarabag and get a job done. And we've not. And that's not good enough. It's as simple as that. It's not good enough. Just let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Much appreciated. And I'll catch all of you tomorrow. This is 3 points thrown away, as far as I'm concerned. Not good. Thank you all so much. Subscribe, notification bell on. Catch all of you tomorrow. Double upload perhaps. Keep your eyes peeled. Shootout video 2, Champions League reaction. We'll go over all of the Champions League fixtures, the English teams and a few of the others as well. Make sure you're there tomorrow over on Shootout. Subscribe, much appreciated. I'll now catch you then. Have a good one. Look after yourself. See you tomorrow. Take care and peace.